The universe doesn't move toward chaos. It moves toward order. Things have a way of working themselves out.
It's Saturday, May 14th, 2022 at 6:17 a.m. here in Herkimer County, New York. This is the One Hiraeth Project's DiaryCast number 39, entitled Asymmetrical Witness. Let me begin by explaining what I mean by asymmetrical witness. The way in which I experience IRL, or the events that occur in real life, generally fails to correspond to that of others in appearance, complexity, arrangement, and in basic perspective of such events. In other words, what most would view as tragic, I'll sense that which is fortunate that lies within. In the fabric of chaos, I see threads of order, and in the construct of patterned order, I see its chaos in the waves of expanse between. Even within this unique frame of reference, I too have an awareness of the more customary views of things. I hold space for both sides of the coin and, in its toss, create wholeness within chance. I am an objective, subjective, human observer. I am a participant and a witness in that which forms IRL and in the formlessness that exists beyond customary human perception. Although I've come to accept this asymmetricality in my day-to-day life, the fire that took place last week here in Herkimer, the one I talk about in DiaryCast number 38, served to further catalyze my purpose as a witness to such happenings and my ubiquitous role in them as orchestrated by divine omniscience. Taking such abstractive thought a step further, somehow by my simply being, and by that I mean existing in a particular space and time, I am in service of three primary purposes. One is to be present as such witness, and in the doing be exactly where I'm supposed to be, to serve as divined in the ubiquity of it, a capacity or role I am usually unaware of at the time. The second is to exist as such state of being, of frequency to invite balance to the human or situational resonance of the Karman vortex present in such space at such time, and or to RSVP with layers of innate refraction where such imbalance persists. And finally, to offer choice. Let me give you examples of what I mean. Being a witness. Take the Herkimer fire. As an outsider, I was able to offer objectivity, comfort, compassion, and possibility where others saw only blockages to what lied ahead. I found myself in conversations, unique circumstances, and physical locations with numerous of those affected by the fire, all of which experienced it from their own and from a collective point of view as a local. And my contribution, what I had to say or to show, made a noticeable difference in the outcome of their unique position within the whole. Through it all, I was protected by that which led me here. Any monies that came out of pocket during my short displacement from the Airbnb unit where I was staying 2 doors down in the row of attached buildings from where this historical fire occurred were magically replaced by the Red Cross, by an unexpected gift of money from a longtime client, and by the owner of both buildings himself, who insisted he needed to give it to me in what I could only deduce was a means of settling some sort of karma, despite my equaled insistence and resistance that I didn't want it. Everything in my unit was exactly as I left it. No fire, water, or smoke damage whatsoever. I was as whole when I returned as I had been before the fire had commenced. Simply being. For those of you who watched DiaryCast number 34 a few weeks back, where I was in Tacoma, Washington, you saw the miraculous way in which a huge limb from a nearby tree fell during a high windstorm exactly between the home where I was house sitting for a lovely dog named Josh and the one next door. And the absolute improbability of such a clean fall, where neither home was damaged, nor was the fence between the properties. Had it fallen even a yard in either direction, catastrophic damage and human injury would have occurred. As in the Herkimer fire, I was protected from harm, being that I was actually sitting within a few feet of the wall of that property next to an open window at the time that the limb fell. And had the trajectory been in disfavor to me, I doubt I'd be alive right now creating this DiaryCast. Simply being in that house at that time, my presence became a character in the incredible story of resonance amongst the chaos of that storm. Offering choice. In late January of this year, I discovered a legal situation had been decided against me where the actions throughout of the plaintiff had been proven unequivocally to be fraudulent and non-compliant with statutory and systematory requirements necessary for such a win to be legal. Yet the justices in this case, over the decade of its process, chose to overlook such illegalities without notice to me, entering this judgment in plaintiff's favor. Being that plaintiff's motion was to remove me from the case in disregard for the statutory definition of, quote, necessary party, end quote, I no longer had standing to participate in the case further. So, in tune with guidance from the divine, I wrote an email addressed to the justices and copied all parties and their representatives, offering these justices the choice to reverse such judgment and to simply do the right thing before it was too late to be able to do so. Now, I had no expectation one way or the other as to the outcome. I also executed such writing void of emotion. I was simply a vehicle of that unseen, offering choice, and whatever choice those privy to that communication made in response, it was one they would have to live with for the rest of their lives. One karmic, one with unseen consequences, both positive and negative, and one not of my demand, but of the divinity for those with eyes to see. In the end, the judgment stood and plaintiff was able to legally steal my property without accountability and with the full support of the legal system. And me? I was released from the burden of being the truth teller, a vehicle offering change to a system broken. I actually felt empowered despite what most would see as a devastating loss, becoming aware all along I'd done the right thing, and in the doing was gifted with a grace in the knowing. The others? Well, only they, and that which exists in omniscience, know for sure. Confirmations of these insights I've now shared came through various modes of contemplation and experience that I've had during this DiaryCast period. From the definition of being, which reads, existence, the nature or essence of a person, to William James' 1911 book entitled Some Problems of Philosophy, where in chapter 3 he says, how comes the world to be here at all instead of the non-entity which might be imagined in its place? What then with its whence or why? To Eckhart Tolle's quote reminding me that being is of like concept to his in the asking, who is the I that I'm speaking to in my head, and the I that I am? To Marion Kramer's speaking of positives gone unnoticed by most when in the midst of presumed negativity.
If I lay 3 cards down and all 3 are in the upright, this is a really good message, whether they know it or not. And they could be in the middle of the worst kind of turmoil. And they'll be like, oh my God, woe is me, everything is wrong. And I have 3 cards in the upright. And I'm like, yeah. However, in the midst of your terrible experience, these are the positive things that are happening.
As well as her in-my-face reminder that I am called to simply be in the world.
You have this pull towards something greater. You know it's in your heart. You know it's in your soul. And it's calling you to be something else. It's time to turn and morph and change and evolve. It's time. And the person that you are here with the Emperor in the upright, trying to create that empire and trying to become the vision of the dream right here. Notice the Ace of Cups in the upright. This is the dream and the vision and the calling. It may even be the divine collective calling you to stand up into who you are.
And finally, in the clip from the movie Shall We Dance, where Susan Sarandon's character speaks to the private detective she's hired of the true purpose of partnership, one of being a witness to the life of another.
I took the liberty of ordering for you. Bombay Sapphire, 3 limes.
I hired you to watch my husband, Mr. Devine. You're not supposed to be watching me.
It's very hard not to, Mrs. Clark, with all due respect.
You're a married man, Mr. Devine?
I was
Oh, what happened?
unfaithful.
She hired a detective?
No. When she found out I was too far gone, so she's just smiling at me.
You are on a strange journey to redemption, Mr. Devine.
And a very long one, Mrs. Clark.
All these promises that we make and we break, why is it, do you think, that people get married?
Passion.
No.
It's interesting, because I would have taken you for a romantic. Why then?
Because we need a witness to our lives. There's 1 billion people on the planet. I mean, what does any one life really mean? But in a marriage, you're promising to care about everything. The good things, the bad things, the terrible things, the mundane things. All of it, all the time, every day. You're saying your life will not go unnoticed because I will notice it. Your life will not go unwitnessed because I will be your witness. You can quote me on that if you like.
Sure I will.
Anyway, the reason that I called you here today, to tell you in person that I won't be needing your services anymore.
Oh.
I think to continue would be an unwarranted invasion of my husband's privacy, and, well, anyway, even though there was a reason, I'm sorry for what I've done, and, I know enough now, and it's time to stop. Thank you for everything, and goodbye.
Mrs. Clark, I was right. You are romantic.
I've come to a place of peace, gratitude, and humility in being the asymmetrical witness, the resonantial balance in the Karman vortex, and the grace offered in the simple human act of offering choice. I am humbled. I am being. I am. And for this week, I will leave it there.